week 12 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few running backs I looked at off the waiver wire this week. The first guy, Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks. So Charbonnet, it looks like he could be the starting running back now for the Seahawks team. Kenneth Walker left the Week 11 game with the oblique injury. So Zach Charbonnet, he was one of the better rookies drafted in fantasy drafts in the upcoming season. He just needed an opportunity, and now the opportunity, like I said, could be there for Charbonnet. He could catch the football out of the backfield pretty solidly, running between the tackles, a big physical back. And the last couple weeks, he's put up some decent numbers. Week 10 versus Washington, 6 carries, 44 yards, 4 catches, 18 yards. And Week 11 at the Rams, after Walker went out in the second quarter, 15 carries, 47 yards, 6 catches, 22 yards. So it's a quick turnaround. Thursday night game, Thanksgiving, for Charbonnet and the Seattle Seahawks. And I don't know if Kenneth Walker will be available in the next few days to turn around quickly with the oblique and play in that game. So Charbonnet, a physical running back, like I said, could catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's available, surprisingly, right now in 56% of fantasy leagues. I know it's a tough matchup versus the Niners, but he's an easy number 2 running back option if he starts going into the week. Next running back's Tajay Spears of the Tennessee Titans. So Derrick Henry, the last few weeks, the numbers haven't been there. And obviously, it's not all Derrick Henry's fault. One of the worst offensive lines in the league blocking for him. And this Tennessee Titan team just isn't that good this season, where they're down early and often and have no choice but to pass the football 35, 40 times. Tajay Spears, he's outsnapped Derrick Henry a lot this season. He's getting a lot of opportunity, third down back, passing downs back. I know the numbers haven't been great, but if anything did happen to Derrick Henry with an injury, then Tajay Spears could step in and get a good workload. And like I said, he's a good receiving back out of the backfield. So right now is a handcuff option, but still a player seeing playing time and getting opportunity, available in 60% of fantasy leagues. He's been on the list a lot this season. I would give Tajay Spears an add this week with a light week on the waiver wire at the running back position. The next back's Roschon Johnson of the Chicago Bears. So Johnson, I know the last few weeks really hasn't done much or seen the field much, but Deonta Foreman left the game with an ankle injury in Week 11. I know Khalil Herbert returned. He had 16 carries in the game, and Johnson only 6 carries, 30 yards, but Johnson, we know, is a good receiving back out of the backfield. Foreman, I think, is going to miss the Week 12 game at the Minnesota Vikings because the Bears go on bye week in Week 13. And Johnson, we'll see if this Bear team wants to see what they got with some of these younger guys. Obviously, with their season pretty much over for the Chicago Bear team in terms of making the playoffs and making an impact with only 3 wins on the season. So Johnson, like I said, coming into the year, people had hopes he'd be the third down back and be a decent fantasy option. And right now, with Foreman going down, I think Johnson could be decent. And obviously a speculative ad available right now in 80% of fantasy leagues. And next back's Rico Dowdle of the Dallas Cowboys. So Tony Pollard, he did find the end zone for the first time since Week 1 for this Cowboy team. Rico Dowdle still got some decent work, 8 carries, 23 yards, 2 catches, -3 yards in that game at the Panthers. I know that game was out of reach in the third quarter with the Cowboys running away, winning 33-10. But Rico Dowdle, we've seen him get some snaps over the last few weeks and be a physical back. And even Mike McCarthy said they want to get him more touches over the last couple weeks. And now Thanksgiving game, Thursday afternoon versus the Commanders, a decent matchup. I'm not saying Dowdle is going to have a 50-50 split with Tony Pollard, but definitely someone eating into the workload as the weeks have went on. And Dowdle available right now in 84% of fantasy leagues. If Pollard did go down with injury, Dowdle will be the next man up, and he could be a top 15, top 20 back just in that offensive loan. Like I said, if something happened, Tony Pollard in the 5th and final running back I looked at off the wire this week's Ty Johnson, the Buffalo Bills. So Ty Johnson, we've seen some flashes from him over the last few seasons at times with the Detroit Lions and the New York Jets last season. And he got some playing time in that game in Week 11 with the Bills trying to figure out their new offense with new offensive coordinator. And their offense did get off to a good start. They played good in that game. 3 backs got work in that game. James Cook obviously leading the backfield with Tavius Murray and Ty Johnson. And Johnson, a good game, 3 carries, 11 yards, 3 catches, 47 yards and a touchdown. So we know Johnson's specialties catching the football out of the backfield. I know a tough matchup in Week 12 at the Philadelphia Eagles. Give up the least amount of fantasy points to backs on the season. But he's a deeper league ad. He's Ty Johnson, available 99% of fantasy leagues. But obviously, he's going to have a role in this offense where the Bills want to get more speed on this offense with new offensive coordinator. We saw Shakir have a breakout game and Ty Johnson as well in this one. So if you need a running back in deeper dynasty leagues or 14, 16 team leagues, I give him an ad this week. So that's a few running backs I looked at off the waiver wire for week 12 of the fantasy football season.